Welcome along to Science Sketchbook's video on forces. So what is a force? A force is something that causes a change in the motion, that is the movement of an object. The modern definition of force, which is an object's mass multiplied by its acceleration, was given by Sir Isaac Newton in his laws of motion. Now, most forces can be generally categorized as either a push force or a pull force. So that's a very easy thing to understand. And we experience these things in thousands of different ways every single day. So we have a push and we have a pull. Now, there are two main types of forces. And the first type of force we will talk about is a contact force. Now, contact simply means touching. So, we could take the day in the life of our friend over here, who we'll put on the top of a very steep cliff, and we'll call him Cliff. And he is pushing a very heavy box with all his stickman might in this direction. The box is rubbing against the ground here. We'll have a push force from Cliff, and we'll also have friction between the box and the ground. Now, if Cliff pushes the box over the edge, it will be in free fall, be being pulled to the ground, to the center of the earth. But what will be pushing back up is the air. And if you refer back to our video on the particle model, you will have remembered that air is made of trillions of particles. Even though you can't see air, there is something that's pushing back up against the box, and that force is called air resistance. If, for some strange reason, Cliff wanted to bounce his box on a spring, there would be another force at play. In the spring, there would be a force called tension, which would be pulling. Now, non-contact simply means not touching. So the thing that's exerting the force doesn't actually come into physical contact with the object that it's affecting. Now, there are three main ones that we are going to talk about in this video. The first one is gravity. So straight away we think of the planet Earth that's keeping us from not spinning off into outer space. So we have the Earth and we have the Moon. Gravity works towards the center of the object. Now everything, including you and I and this pen, has gravity. It's an attribute of every object that has mass. So the Moon is pulling to the center at about 6 times less. Now, one thing to remember about gravity is that it only pulls. Okay, so the next non-contact force will be magnetism. Now, magnetism is both a push and a pull force. So, if you had 4 bar magnets, they have 2 poles, a south and a north pole. Now, the rule with magnetism is that opposite poles, unlike poles, attract, so the arrows are going towards each other, and like poles repel, so they want to get away from each other. So that's what I mean by it being a pull force and a push force. Magnetism can be both. And of course we know from compasses that they will always seek north. So it's very useful in navigation, but magnetism is used in lots and lots of different applications. Very important in computing, for example. Electrostatic force. If you rub a party balloon on your head, you might have done this, you can get your hair to stand on end. And this is because some of the electrons from one or the other are moving, which creates unbalanced forces. So you have a plus and a minus, the balloon might be negatively charged and your hair might be positively charged, and they will attract to each other. So that's the overview of forces